Sorry, this is take three. So welcome, Sandites to District Dialogue. I think it is take three actually, and I'm hoping you have sound now. So we were providing a little comic relief earlier, and so if you saw the chairs going up and down, it's because we're having a little height envy. I think Mr. Beard or something. I don't know. You could call it whatever you want, but the chair thing was really about. Would you like to explain this?
If you're going to be sitting next to Ryan Biven, you don't want to be down here. So I just kind of rose to the occasion.
Oh my goodness. So it is, I think, past 7 o'clock. So bear with us as we had a little technical difficulty getting the sound working. So we're going to just kind of start all over, try to fix the video later. So if folks come back and watch dialogue for this evening, you can see the content in normal format. So we do have Mr. Biven here from Charles Page High School tonight, and we're going to be talking about course selection for our freshmen through senior students for next school year. But before we start that, I do want to put a plug in for early enrollment or registration. We've been sending out a ton of information about current students and the need for you to pre-register for the 21-22 school year. And so one of the things I wanted to mention tonight as we are in the middle of that process, as you begin to start the registration online, it's likely that registration process will default your student to your, what we would call your homeschool site or where you reside, even if you're attending the virtual academy this year. Doesn't mean you can't take the virtual academy option next year. It just means that you'll have to let us know that that's what you want to choose. So I believe there was a survey that went out.
There was, and we can resend it if
Okay, gotcha.
to respond to it still.
Right. And I think there's a form out via Google for you all to type in questions in case you have some tonight that we can answer live. So without further ado, we're going to kind of hop in to what we've termed ICAP and course selection. I say we very loosely because honestly, Mr. Biven went to the trouble of, not trouble, but you did the effort. You had the effort to create the slideshow tonight. And we're going to take you through it and just make sure everybody is educated and informed about the amazing options we have at our Freshman Academy in Charlotte.
Directly into the workforce, or maybe they're going to attend a technical school or go on into a college, then we don't want them getting out there and not having any idea of what their next steps are. And so the ICAP process, and it's not a single thing. It's a big process, is to prepare students for that next step after high school.
So in the beginning, let's talk about just a teeny bit about history before you get into the specific programs. But one of the things that we wanted to capture is a large variety of areas, for lack of a better way to put that. So we wanted students to have lots of choices in regard to interest, aptitude for different things. And so we were very creative and specific and intentional about just tapping into every kind of program that a student might want, and making that a viable option for Charles Page High School, beginning your freshman year in the freshman academy. So I know you're ready to kind of launch into some of those offerings, and I think it would be a great way to show people that maybe haven't toured Charles Page to understand what's available. So I'm going to let you launch in if you don't mind, Mr. Bivens.
Okay.
So it looks like we're still having some trouble with the slides, but we're gonna get those up there.
I can't do both.
That's all
Yeah,
right.
just do the slides.
Well, let's just start with the description. Sure.
Real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so I really want to nail this point down, that ICAP, because I'm hearing a lot of, when people are discussing ICAP, and Ms. Durkee and I are kind of along the same lines here. We don't really like the term ICAP. It's just, what does that mean? And so ICAP is a large process. A kid's ICAP plan is going to go from the time they enter school until the time they enter, or until the time they leave. And ICAP deals with anything career related. So in the elementary schools, they're going to be exploring all different kind of careers and just seeing everything that's out there. We want to open kids' minds to all the possibilities. Stan Trout, the principal at Charles Page High School, always says you can go anywhere from here, and that's the truth. And we want to tap into what kids are passionate about and go from there.
So when we started talking about course design, what you just mentioned in terms of exposure, that even our elementary students have to options. What do you want to be when you grow up? And we want to get past just the normal, I want to be a fireman and a nurse, to an array of things that are options when you grow up. So it's that exposure early on. We have curriculum in place that does just that, that also prefaces middle school course options, which are a part of, I think, our course guide that led itself to what you all are doing, that important work with the individualization, and the real meat of students that maybe make some choices a little bit earlier than they might have otherwise. Would it be fair?
Right. And as a student moves and gets older, it's going to get more specific. They're going to be able to start to specialize and go down certain career paths. And we pride ourselves on being a school of choice. And we've had this idea of students creating their own educational path and doing it their way. And we want to be there to support them. And so that whole idea is ICAP. ICAP is made up of a lot of specific things like course selection, which we're going to be talking about tonight, which is, in my opinion, the most important piece of ICAP, because like I said, again, if you are not selecting your courses that you're passionate about and interested in, then we are completely missing the boat on ICAP. So this is a really important piece.
So there have been a lot of things leading up to this that kids have been doing as far back as recently, but as far back as 6th grade, because they've been doing career and interest inventories on OK Career Guide. And
right. And so, so we have some state law. ICAP's not just something that we've made up, right? This is a state mandate that we have to do. And so every year we are tasked with several things that must be completed. Number one is students have to complete career interest surveys. And so We have a platform that they use called OK Career Guide, and students have their own login. They go in and they complete career interest assessments. They are also write academic and career goals, and this goes back into the middle school. So every year they'll do this until they graduate. And then another piece of the law is intentional sequencing of courses. And so that's the main thing that we're here to talk
People
about
will
tonight.
talk about, well, they don't know in seventh and eighth grade what they want to do. And so do I have to select that early? And the truth is, you're not married to a program.
You're not
So-
declaring a major.
Right, exactly. So you always have the option of shifting
Absolutely.
focus.
Absolutely. And we try to tell students that way, because when we do talk about this, that's the first thing. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't want to be stuck in a position I come to find out I don't want to be in. And so, yeah, that is the talk. You can, when you get into secondary education, you get the option to select electives. And as you are selecting these electives, we want you to be thinking about careers that you might be interested in. What we don't want to happen is, like we mentioned earlier, is you graduate high school and you have no idea. The whole point of this ICAP process is to get you thinking about your career paths and what you might want to do, get some experience in that pathway, and go from there.
And that makes me just thinking back when I was in school, just thinking about all that we have available to us now, as far as our students, being able to access those career interest inventories, being able to think in those terms in middle school. If I had had those things at my disposal back then, not that I'm upset with my current state of life, but things might have gone differently, because, when I graduated, I wasn't sure.
So just to insert a little anecdotal story, we were graciously invited to a presentation at Charles Page High School with 3 students who were finishing their 4th year in our biomed program. And Katie Smith is the one name I remember, and I'll tell you why, but the other 2.
Barrett Andrews
Barrett
and Ethan Bice.
Interesting. It was great. They did a presentation on water quality, basically, and incorporated sampling and done some lab work.
From picture from the
Yes.
Superfund site.
Right. And with photos, and they had anyway, they presented their findings to a research project. The cool part was, and the reason I remember Katie's name specifically is I got an email from Katie yesterday, and if Katie's probably not watching, because that's probably not cool for a senior to watch District Dialogue, but
But you should,
they should watch this. But the cool part of that story is she was reaching out because she wanted some constructive input about what they could have done better. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a senior, I wasn't reaching out to one of my teachers and saying, hey, could you give me a critique of how I could get better? And that's a skill set that adults have. And it's super cool. I didn't respond. So Katie, if you are out there, I'm going to respond to that email, but it was just fun to get.
And if I may, I attribute that to kids being in a career path for 4 years. These were 3 students that have been in our biomed program for 4 years, and they're very intentional and understand what they want to do with their lives after high school. Not everybody's going to be that focused,
Yeah.
but they were.
Did you ask them what they wanted to be? What's interesting is when you get those students that have done those 4 years in the same kind of curriculum, I think you were.
No, but somebody asked that question that day.
Right.
And they were all 3 a little bit, their responses were a little bit different, but they all kind of funneled out of that program, out of that career path.
Right.
And that's something that I was thinking about. I'm glad that you brought that up, because it's this process, whether you want to refer to it as ICAP or a career plan, that enabled those kids to be the place where many kids 5-10 years ago weren't able to be when they were a senior in high school. They weren't doing the presentations of the magnitude that we saw. They weren't doing the research at the level that we saw. I had a conversation with somebody today that I was working with my 5th grade daughter on an argumentative paper that when I was in fifth grade, we won't say how many years ago, my paper was about the bald eagle. So these are different times, but kids are getting a little bit more advanced and this whole process is going to help
When
them
you
get where they need to
see
be.
that happen, it absolutely validates what we're trying to accomplish in doing the right thing for students. And it's a brilliant moment.
Sherry, we have a question. Do you want to take it now?
Sure.
Okay. When did you start the change to your current ICAP process? And how can I possibly get my district to replicate what you're doing? Do you have any documentation you are willing to share?
Oh my goodness. Wow. Yes, double yes. And golly, what's interesting about the word ICAP, and this is why I get a little probably a bit fussy about an acronym. It's just a thing. We had started these ideas pre-ICAP.
Well, yes, we had
Yes,
it's been
a while.
about 6 years.
I wasn't the superintendent. I was the assistant super in curriculum and instruction. You were.
I was vertical school director and
Correct.
yeah.
Right. So I would say to that person, if we can get an email at just first name dot last name at SendIce.org, any three of us would be more than happy to share. But it's exciting. I know these guys as a high school team have done a lot of sharing with other districts and had a lot of visitors too.
Yeah, we have had several schools come and visit and just see what we're doing, see our new facilities that are really a big part of what we're trying to do with our career paths.
Right. Bond funded, which I'll say was a total success in the district, but really with the idea of not just building a building, but visioning what we're trying to incorporate and produce for our students that align with our vision, which is just fun. So we can talk forever about that, but I do want to get into the meat of
Yeah, what do we have? What can I say? What can I enroll in?
Okay, so can
She's about to make
Can they see the? Yes.
Yeah,
I think
okay,
we have
yeah.
that now.
Okay, so
So we're on Watch Your Path.
yes, and so at Charles Page High School, we want all of our students to be in at least one of three tracks, right? At least one, and they can be in more than one. But we have a college-bound track, which means that students at Charles Page High School need to either be taking AP coursework or they need to be enrolled concurrently at Tulsa Community College. That's one track. Another track is the technical school, which we have, I think we had about 250 students enrolled at Tulsa Tech, which is fantastic. We also have our own career tech courses and programs at Charles Page High School located on our campus. Those would include our STEM, which would be biomed, engineering, and computer science. And we also have ag, business marketing, and information technology, and also family and consumer sciences. So that's another track that our students can be on. Or they can be headed directly into the workforce after high school. So one of the things we're always talking about being successful immediately after high school. We don't want the lag time. And so whatever track you're on, we want to create a plan for you that will allow you to be immediately successful after high school.
I can't help myself. Can I dispel some biases? Because you see the tracks and we have a tendency as people, I would say as educators, sometimes we're trying really hard to dispel the biases and we want to prioritize and rank the tracks. And we have tendency historically to say college bound is better, but we've got to get rid of that bias because there are very successful people that go into any of those three tracks that become very successful adults. And we're looking for success. I want to be independent. I want to be able to support my family. I want to be a good citizen. All those go into the same. I mean, the outcome is the same regardless of what track you go into. And I think that's important.
And the thing that this makes me think of is that while there are a large percentage of kids that are college bound, there are just as many that are not. And by having these three paths, that to me means that every student is equally important as far as Charles Page High School and Sand Springs Public Schools is concerned. So that's what I love about this.
Right. And we're not asking students, do you want to go to college? We're asking them, what are your career interests? What are you passionate about? How do you want to make money after high school? And then we respond to their answer, because college isn't the right track for some of their answers. So it's all about the individual student interest. So
But just the whole rank, get away from
Yes.
rank ordering, good, better, best, or what, it's crazy. It's gonna pass that.
okay.
Next slide. Okay. And you can.
That was fine.
Yeah, okay.
One more.
And we have a lag here, so that's another thing.
Okay, so getting into the actual career paths, and let me say this before I dive into the career paths that we have at Charles Page High School. If we don't have it, we have connections to people that do, Tulsa Tech and Tulsa Community College, and so whatever the path may be, we can develop a plan for each student. So I want to jump in first to we've partnered with Tulsa Tech over the last, 4 or 5 years,
Yes.
roughly. And so we have Tulsa Tech programs on our campus at Charles Page High School. If you've ever been to a Tulsa Tech facility, they're unbelievable. And so you see the same thing when you come into Charles Page High School and go into our Tulsa Tech programs that are on our campus. They're top-notch facilities, and we have 3 of them at Charles Page High School. The first one, in no order, is the Construction Academy. This is a fairly new program that's at the high school. It's a block class, so any student that's going into this class, it's a 2-hour class, part of their day. And that's because, they're building projects. They are doing
It
construction.
is hands-on.
It is very hands-on.
Right.
That Mr. Owens, our instructor, explains it as we do everything necessary to build a house. And so,
And it's not simulation, like there's real saws, all of it is
right,
hands-on.
it is hands-on, and they,
Very sim video.
With every ounce of safety.
Well, absolutely, like, just, right, that's the first part.
And I will say this too, the video content that you're going to see on these slides, if you can watch this as you're talking about course selection with your kids, if you go to sandites.org, if you go to any of our links about course selection, or if you find our ICAP link on our website or the Charles Page High School website, you can watch any of these that you want to.
I think part of what also Mr. Bivens going to take us into is the magic that makes this possible is the fact that we're pretty easy to work with. So we get an idea and we run with it. So we'll talk about internships later, but we just don't put barriers. We don't ask the question, I don't think we don't say, I don't think we can. We say, how are we going to accomplish it? And so we just don't put barriers in front of kids when they have an idea. So I love it. So are you ready?
yes.
Okay.
So this is manufacturing. Okay.
Yes, and so the second Tulsa Tech program we have on the campus at Charles Page is Foundations of Manufacturing. Again, top-notch facility. When you walk into this program, you're going to see machines that you're not going to have any idea what they do. It's really impressive, and we've had this program for
First one.
yes, I think 5
been a
years now. And so, again, this is open to 9th through 12th graders. And typically the Tulsa Tech programs that we have on campus are introductory courses. And so if a student gets in the Foundations of Manufacturing, say, and they're going to touch on several different aspects of manufacturing. And then if a student really latches on to one piece, then their next step would maybe be going their junior year or their senior year to a Tulsa Tech campus and really specializing even more.
Nice.
The next Tulsa Tech program is interior design. Again, another really impressive building, also open to 9 through 12. We have interior design 1 and interior design 2 classes. And so this is a 2-year program, which would lead into another probably move to Tulsa Tech after this, if that's what you decided you really like and wanted to do.
Fantastic. I will say this, some of the same concepts that are taught in some of the more hands-on portions of the curriculum are precipitated at Clyde Boyd Middle School. The interior design class, you were kind of looking at kids that were building scale models of, say, furniture. If you were to attend, say, a Janet Johnson class,
Yes, STEM, Project Lead the Way, STEM 7 and STEM 8.
Yep, they're going to be doing the same thing. When I say to scale, they can tell you exactly what that means.
And they also have a component called medical detectives, which leads into this next one.
Right.
I'm sorry.
So we interrupt you all the time.
That's okay. That's okay.
And just get excited about this.
Next, the next type of programs we're going to talk about are STEM programs. And so our district's made a really strong commitment to Project Lead the Way and to STEM in general. And one of the first Project Lead the Way programs that we've had at Charles Page High School was our biomed program. And this year is, and we mentioned it earlier with the 3 students who had completed year 4. So they've gone from their freshman year taking principles of biomedical sciences all the way up to year 4, where they're taking biomedical innovation. And it's a really in-depth. There were only 3 students in that class this year, our fourth year. And so you can imagine how intense that is, and just an absolutely fantastic way to wrap up that program with them as we got to
Right.
experience.
So I would mention, because the class sizes have a tendency to be smaller, I think the students at first would have said they're pretty hard because it's a whole different way of teaching. They really do hands-on, they figure things out. The other thing I would say is we made a real commitment to, even though we were trying to launch a new program, we knew enrollment would be low at first. And what's happening to us now is the enrollment's building. So even though in year 4, you might have had 3 students, in year 1, it's not similar to large class, but we're building enrollment is my point, which is great.
Right. And next year we already have 10 students committed to year 4. And so
Right.
it is definitely growing.
Yep.
Our next Project Lead the Way program is our engineering. And this coming year will be our first year having the year 4. This year we've had our first year to have civil engineering and architecture, and just another program that is really hands-on. It's the prettiest classroom in the new facility. It's pretty amazing.
Shout out to Webco because they did bring this engineering program. They've been a big donor over the course of the last 5 or 6 years to really help us fund, because these are expensive. They really are kind of pricey programs, and it takes a lot of professional development to get teachers where they need to be to actually teach it. And so I'm super proud of this one.
Absolutely. Just one quick example of what the design, the civil engineering and architecture kids are doing right now is they've gone to the Sand Springs Library that's right across the street from the high school, and they have all their blueprints, and they are redesigning the Sand Springs Public Library for them. And so it's a really neat partnership that we've got going
As a
on
real
there.
project.
As a real project, and
Right.
they will present that to them. And I think they're as excited as our students are. So
Right. So real hands-on, that is just cool. Real hands-on work that could be translated into something that becomes real life in real time. So that's fun. Okay, ready?
yes.
Okay.
Okay, Project Lead the Way Computer Science. This is our newest Project Lead the Way endeavor, and we are to year 2 right now with Computer Science Essentials and Computer Science Principles. And they're doing a lot of neat things in there, app design and programming. If students get in here and are excited about it, the next transition would be to go into maybe web design or onto a Tulsa Tech program. And so there is Project Lead the Way Computer Science.
You might actually walk out down the hallway in front of her classroom and see robots.
There could be a robot come out of the.
Right.
I never.
Never know what's going to happen.
Okay, now I'm going to get into our career tech programs that we have at Charles Page High School on our campus, and agricultural sciences. Most people already know about this, but some of the things that they do are really amazing. And there's a lot of career paths within this program. You can. Well, let me just talk about the picture there. You see the guys holding the trophies. Both of those guys have been doing welding competitions all year. I believe Reese is undefeated this year and has got almost a full ride scholarship through his welding. And so just fantastic things going on there, from animal science to ag power and tech, horticulture, and just a variety of things under that.
I know you have ag leadership, and what I love this video because those are welding stations, for lack of a better way to say that. But the leadership part, I was at the ag barn with you and Drew was there, your daughter. She loved it, by the way, and the pigs and such. But I called Reese is in the picture, and I bring him to the microphone off the cuff. There was no preparation, and ask him a few questions about what he's learned in agricultural science. And they're developing leaders that are well-spoken, that can articulate what they're thinking. I mean, it's amazing. One of the scariest things is to speak publicly in front of people. And it took Reese that long in front of my phone and just to absolutely generate conversation and express what he was getting out of that coursework.
Right. And I would say that about all of our career specific programs. Of course, they have their curriculum that they're trying to teach, but they're also teaching kids to go directly into a workplace and be able to function. They're teaching them those soft skills and that type of thing. Our business marketing and information technology, we have several different pathways there. We have a web design that I said, might transition well with computer science, desktop graphics, and we also have a Sandite TV, which would just be media production type things. And so that's another program at Charles Page High School that's really sought after by a lot of our students, and we never have any issues filling those classes up for sure.
And those have been programs that we've had in the district for many years. And many students, when they're trying to complete those college prep electives, they either have the option of completing computer science or foreign language, and a lot of them filter into these areas and they don't realize the world that's opened up by the types of offerings that are in these classes. So
what I love about what we're describing is our ability to meet the diversity of our students. So what you're seeing is an array of a lot of programs that fit the character of different students.
Mhm.
So that's the whole idea of individualized educational programming, this is a huge illustration. You're doing a great job, Mr. Bibb. Okay. There you go.
Okay, the family and consumer sciences. And this is one of my favorite to talk about anyway, because we are educators, and one of our new pathways that we put into place is teaching and learning, and so we are trying to provide a pathway for students who want to become educators as well. And so what a better place to do that than in a high school, and we can give them real life interactions. The picture there that you're seeing is one of our students who is student teaching at the ninth grade center. This is a senior that's teaching a class, and so as part of her teaching and learning. So really cool.
Well, and we'll get to brag a little bit about internships too, because we kind of put our money where our mouth is, honestly, and what we're asking business to do. So I'm going to save a little nugget for later, but that's a link to the coursework. So here we go.
So let's talk about our internship program. 2 years ago, we had a business forum where we invited everybody in Sand Springs
And Tulsa.
and
So
Tulsa and
basically anybody that would listen to us.
yes, anybody then, and we invited them, and they didn't really know what we were going to ask of them. And we asked them to partner with us and provide whatever they felt like they could provide that would be a benefit to our students. And the big ask was if they could provide an internship for these students who are going through a career path and they get to their senior year, and now it's time to get some real live experience in the path that they've been going.
So this was 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I think we sent out, I don't even know, 250 invitations maybe at that luncheon. We provided lunch because people like to eat. And we had 200 people show up, I'll never forget it, with little commitment cards.
We didn't let them leave without that commitment card. And so we appreciate all of them for sure. Obviously, we couldn't do this without them. And our community's been so willing to give their time and
money.
and invest in our students. And we're very grateful. But these are just a few of our community partners, and we have close to 100, I would say, that have done something in some capacity. And so this year with COVID, our numbers with internships are down.
So let's go to the numbers before you go on. So last year was the first full year we were able to partner to provide internships. We have approximately 400 and some odd seniors that graduate yearly. It ebbs and flows.
Right.
But out of those 400,
We had over 200 students in an internship in year one. This year we are down considerably, but we plan on having another business forum at the beginning of next year to kind of let's regroup and get this thing going again.
we were worried. I was personally worried about the continuation of our internship program because it was new. We just started it. We onboarded a lot of community partners, and then COVID hit. And it made me incredibly nervous. And Michelle Spears, I got a shout out to Michelle Spears. She's our, what do we call her?
She's our career counselor and really works with students to get them placed in internships and communicates with our business.
There was slippage, but not a ton of slippage, not like I thought there would
Yeah,
be.
no.
So
Not a ton. We're still scratching and
yeah, we'll
clawing
get
through
that
it.
and we'll get more, but
And I know you have some slides to show this later, but like the thing that's really great about this is working with local businesses, local industry partners, showing our kids that there are indeed career paths in the local vicinity. And just give me some examples of some things that you remember, some of the internships that I know I have a few that hit my brain, that kids were involved in last year.
Well, we had, on the screen, you can see KKT Architects is one of our business partners, and we had a student that was, had gone through our interior design program at the high school, and he went into an internship with KKT Architects and actually sat in planning meetings with KKT Architects who were designing the new ninth grade center and the STEM facility. And so
I just remember sitting in a meeting with those kids and we'd say, what do you think? Which is interesting because for a student to be in the midst of an adult meeting and for an adult to say, what do you think about that? And to give input, talk about empowering.
Yeah.
a student. So that was just fun.
LD Kearns as well.
LD Kearns also had several interns with them who were working at the high school building our new facility. And so just great experience that can't be replicated in a classroom. So
One of my favorite is the Sand Springs Fire and Tulsa Fire. We actually had
yeah, we had 7 guys last year who went to Tulsa Fire Department, and they trained with the Tulsa Fire rookies, as they would call them, and they went over there every day and trained with them, and just loved it. And then they were going to transfer to Sand Springs Fire when COVID hit. They were coming over here to actually go into their firehouse and live the life with them. And so,
Right.
Just a great opportunity.
it's fun. Gets me excited.
So here's a few pictures. We did an internship recognition at the end of the year, and it kind of attached that with our career fair as we invited all of our business partners back into the building. And here are just a few. The one girl there is working at Miss Mandy's daycare. She was in our teaching and learning program and wanted to be in early childhood. So that's what she did. She was, our interns are able to leave school for 2 hours out of that day and go make money and get in.
These were paid.
These are paid internships. Students are making money and getting real life experience. And that's what it's all about. That's ICAP. That's why we're talking.
They fill out a resume. That it's competitive, which is real life experience. And I have to plug school because we had a couple of our interns that were working for Sand Springs Public Schools in our early childhood education center in the after school program. So, and we were paying just like some of our other partners were. And so it's something we believe in. And it fires them.
We had students interning at Webco as well. So
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. You ready?
Sure. I just wanted to, since we're talking course selection here, I want to give one more plug to Tulsa Technology Center. We really partner with them, and we provide quite a few career paths, I believe, as a high school. And Tulsa, and with us partnering with Tulsa Tech, it opens up even more avenues for students. And so that's a big piece of what we do. Also, Tulsa Community College, for those students that know they're on a college-bound track, this is a great opportunity to get free college credit. And so
And they go to the West Campus.
yes, they go to the West Campus. So if you're interested in either of those, you need to get with your counselor ASAP.
So it might be a good time to talk a little bit, Sean, about how Virtual Academy kind of layers in, because sometimes you think of Virtual Academy, you think full-time virtual. But the truth is, what makes this whole magical thing happen is the ability to be very flexible with scheduling. And I don't know, last year, our high school counselors came on and talked about how that works. And so because scheduling is a little bit difficult, you have Tulsa Tech that requires a 2-hour block of time versus TCC that requires driving time to get to the West Campus. And then you still need maybe high school calculus.
right. So we do have a lot of parents that do look at our virtual program as an all or nothing thing. But the wonderful thing about the Virtual Academy is we can offer blended options. So if you have a student that's interested in doing concurrent enrollment, but maybe also participating in Tulsa Tech, they can take some of their core courses with our Virtual Academy program and still take part in both of those options. That's the beauty of going back to being flexible as a district. We looked at that many years ago and thought, how can we be flexible for our kids? How can we give them opportunities that they normally wouldn't have because of the overlap or the difficulties that might arise from scheduling?
Sean, you were director of our Virtual Academy, Jay Roeder, who, by the way, is doing a fabulous job. But we were doing this blended type.
We started a Virtual Academy back in 2012, and we've been going strong ever since, and we've actually increased dramatically over the past couple of years. But we started doing a little bit of concurrent with some blended courses. We would have kids that would be interested in doing virtual academy courses, but they still wanted to take part in band or athletics. And so that's where the blended schedule started, but then we started to get more creative in the past couple of years. And so that's.
So another favorite story I tell, I know we're probably really running.
But you have several questions.
We have several questions. So one story, I promise I won't make it long, but I run a superintendent advisory committee. And interestingly, last year when we really were conceptualizing it and making this dream come true, I would have them introduce themselves. Tell me what your schedule is. And out of 12 students, only one had your traditional schedule like I had. And it was so funny because he said, I just have the traditional schedule. And I was a little bit embarrassed about it, but that's okay as well. But it's just what have we been able to diversify that? Okay, stop talking. Is there more, Ryan, or can we take questions?
Let's do one more.
Okay,
One more. So to tie it all together, course selection is coming up. It begins next week. Sorry.
I think
No,
it's.
you're good. Go.
I'm sorry, one more.
I think you got it. Yeah.
Okay, so course selection, we go through at the high school a process called PALS, Promoting and Leading Students. This is a teachers as advisors program where students will stay in their 5th hour class and their 5th hour teacher becomes their advisor. And we are going to be looking over our course guide. We're going to be referring back to those career interest assessments that we've taken throughout the year and all the things that we've done throughout the year about careers. And we're going to be selecting these core courses and electives. And so that's coming up, and it's about a 2-week process for us this year. And so it's really important that our students take this seriously. And like we were saying earlier, this ICAP is nothing if we're not intentionally selecting our courses. And so this is where the rubber meets the road. And so
It's orchestrated by design.
yes. And so students will, you can see our 4 sessions there that we're going to be going over their transcript with them. They'll be looking at what should I take is a process of selecting their core courses that they have to take. And then the consider this is where we're going to be selecting our electives, these things that we just talked about. And then that last one, they'll be completing their course selection, entering them to the computer. And so we'll be ready to run our master schedule and be ready for next year. So
Fantastic. So let's do the questions, Tina.
Okay. Get rid of this. It's you guys on the screen. All right. You do have 2 contacts from some of our other friendly neighborhood districts in Oklahoma that I will send to you after
Okay.
this that would like to talk to you.
That will work.
What if a child needs to change track?
hey, that's fantastic. And that's going to happen a lot. And we expect that, especially early on. I would expect a freshman to change tracks a lot more than maybe a senior, right? Because they're trying to figure this out. And so that would probably happen at semester. We're going to ask you to, hey, stick it out through this semester, finish that course, get your credit, and then we can jump tracks. No, not a problem at all.
I would say this, I would add one thing. Because we're 9 through 12 all together, you don't have to only be in the 9th grade center or the freshman academy. So it's really easy to jump those tracks because I'm there too. And so if I'm a freshman and I'm taking Biomed 1, but I decide, not my thing, I can, as a sophomore, take Computer Science 1, and there may be freshmen in that class, but there may be juniors in that class. So you get kind of that mixed group. So that's not a problem.
This has kind of already been answered, but can my child be in a track while doing virtual learning?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And most of our students, I say most,
Good
a
portion.
good portion are blended, which we kind of discussed the the difference there.
Sometimes it's a schedule need too. Like I've got to get a course in for graduation requirements and so.
It is, and our counselors are masterful at taking what each student needs and making it work. That's what we're going to do. Miss Durkee said years ago, and she may not even remember, but we're not going to think outside the box. We're throwing the box away. There's no box. There's no box. So we're going to do what's best for students, each individual student, and we're going to make it work. And the virtual piece is a large part of it.
You know, I have to commend the high school and really our team, because when we say throw the box out the window, we really meant it. And that's hard for people to conceptualize. And if you're kind of stuck inside what we typically defined as school, this brick and mortar school, then all of a sudden we can't get out of the box. And so they're amazing.
But when it comes to the box that is your computer and virtual learning, there may be some courses that Mr. Roeder has shown to kids that may touch on some of these paths. And if you have questions about any of these paths, he can easily answer the questions about how those tie into the brick and mortar options that Mr. Bivens has been talking about.
If I have a company or business and I would like to participate in the mentorship part, what do I need to do?
Ryan.Bivin, RYAN.BIVIN @standards.org. Please visit us.
Absolutely.
What if my child is a senior next year and hasn't started any path or track? Are they still eligible to participate?
Well, course selection's coming up next week, and so this is going to be a big time. I would talk to your child and talk to them about what's about to happen. You know, we're going to be really diving into it with our PALS process, and they get them to select something. Jump in one of those classes that we've described that they're interested in, and just see what happens. You know, that's the key.
And if you're interested tonight, if you want to look in a little bit more, go to the district website and go to the ICAP page to watch some more of these videos, because that can definitely get a conversation started as you start planning.
You get a peek into, and most of them are current instructors that we have.
They are. Those videos actually, it's weird that those videos aren't even really but a year old.
Right.
Yeah, it feels like this.
As a follow-up, if my child just transferred into the district, or if I know we will be transferring into the district for next year, what does a parent need to do to set them up for one of those tracks?
So that parent should have enrolled, or could feasibly enroll. If you're not a student currently now, Enrollment Center is available and open, so you start there, but then we absolutely direct them.
To the counselor. Counselors are really the people who make it all happen, and so I can't take credit for that. Our counselors, like I said, do a fantastic job, and we just need to relay your career interest and what you want to do with your life to them, and they make it work.
Absolutely.
Is there any cost to parents if a student attends Tulsa Tech on CPHS campus or off campus at Tulsa Tech?
No, there's not.
How easy is it to transfer credits from these classes to college?
So you want to just.
Well, the credits that will transfer to college are all through Tulsa Community College and concurrent enrollment, and so they will all transfer if you're in concurrent.
Right, and I know TCC has a partnership with, say, OSU or OU, so that those courses will transfer. Sometimes if they change their major, which happens with kiddos, it might not translate into the major that they would change to, but we have a really good partnership with our four-year universities.
And then last question, is there a prerequisite class to participate in an internship?
Good question, and yes, there is, but we work with it. So before we send a student out into an internship, we require that the student takes a semester course, which we call workforce preparation. And in that course, we are teaching workplace etiquette. We're teaching, you need to show up on time. We're teaching interview skills and all of those things that are what we say are transferable from one career path to another. And so To answer that question, yes, there is a prerequisite.
But if you came in as a senior,
If you come in as a senior and you want to take an internship and you want to do it now, what we would probably do is say, okay, you have to take the workforce prep virtually at the same time, and off we go. So
we're teaching soft skills too. Like, so it's important to understand that eye contact is important. Shaking hands, how to approach. So there's all kinds of things that go into just human interaction that are necessary for me to be successful in a workplace,
correct.
which is different than school sometimes. Okay, hey, listen, thank you, Mr. Benton, for your notes tonight. I appreciate that. This was a little bit longer. We had a little bit of trouble getting started tonight. But we'll try to clean up that video before too much longer. Tina's the queen of that. So, good night, Sandites. If you have questions, oh my goodness, it's late. Let us know. There are more than 3 of us that can answer questions about what we talked about tonight. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you.